Welcome to another episode of the Career Talks podcast. I'm your host, Orlando Haynes, and this is the 100th episode of the Career Talks podcast. Super excited. I have two special guests joining me tonight just for a little bit. My precious two daughters, Olivia
Hi.
and Madison.
Hi.
Anything you want to say to the folks that will watch this or watch the replay?
Actually, thank you so much for getting my dad to 100 episodes.
Cool.
This is a big moment in this podcast career, so thank you so much.
Madison?
Thank you for getting my dad to 100 episodes. He is doing very good with his podcast.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Love you both. I'm going to throw you out so I can go ahead and do the podcast. Love yous.
Hopefully he makes it to 200.
Yes. Thank you, girls. All right, everybody. So super excited to talk about what I've learned through 100 episodes of the Career Talks podcast. Oddly enough, this is my very first podcast by myself. So that's something new as well. Challenge myself to do this on my own without a guest. But what I'll do is kind of talk a little bit about the reason why I started it, what got me started. The whole thing, just having a background in talent acquisition for about 20 years. For those that know or don't know, my background has been in TA, split between corporate recruiting and staffing agency. So I started to leverage just the ability to interview. So that experience came 20 years in the making, knowing how to interview different levels, early, mid, senior level opportunities, and just wanted to tackle that. And what better platform than, a podcast to tap into my network, get them on, share some valuable content with the viewers, with the job seekers, because I'm all about career development. So that's a passion of mine. How can I educate and help early and mid-level professionals right towards career success? That's my new branding in terms of what I do. That's the coaching services I offer when it comes to interview, personal branding, LinkedIn optimization. So that's why I'll be specializing 20 years of experience in. So definitely wanted to share, again, 10 things that I've learned. Whether you're catching this live, you can say hello, or you'll catch the replay. Appreciate it either way. So the number one thing I learned with doing LinkedIn live streams, podcasting, is that you have to stay consistent, right? Number one thing I've learned from listening to a few folks on YouTube is admit first, figure out the rest later. It's a gentleman by the name of Nehemiah Davis, young African-American guy, multimillionaire out of Atlanta, but teaches a variety of different ways to build an online presence and generate revenue for yourself. But one of the things he said that stuck out to me most was admit first and figure out the rest later. So big thing around the consistency is making sure don't overthink. If you're gonna, if you're looking to start a podcast, everyone has a podcast, but the statistics show that not too many, get past episode 3 or 5 or 10. So to achieve 100 is pretty big. I'm pretty excited about that. I know there are a ton more folks that are north of 200 and 300 episodes, but I'm excited for the Career Talks podcast and all the guests that I've had on. But again, number one was consistency. One of the tips that I've done was to simply book guests months in advance. Didn't know how to figure it out. Didn't know what the format was going to be. All I knew was I'm an expert interviewer. And yes, I typically don't use that word, but I can interview really well, ask some good questions, pull some stuff out of folks. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to start tapping into my network and get these guests on here who's able to show and provide valuable information. So that was number one. I was able to commit to that, reach out to the network, and thank you to everyone who said yes, willing to come on and just share valuable advice. So again, that number one thing is consistency. We tend to struggle with that a lot, but this was something I'm definitely passionate about. Again, sharing valuable advice So that was a huge thing for me. Number two on what I think is important in the journey of what I learned was audience engagement. I think that's something that's talked about mainly just on LinkedIn as well. If you're making a post of any kind, you're making sure that you're engaging with the audience. So that's the cool thing I love about the LinkedIn live stream is that you can engage immediately with the audience with the comments and things like that. Appreciate you, Mark, for joining. Is that you immediately get that feedback from them. It's like doing a live stand-up show or something like that, right? If they laugh, if they comment, if they cry, if they boo you, it's immediate. It's kind of energetic at the same time. If they have a comment or an insight to what you're talking about with the guest, or if you're doing it by yourself, that's always something that's really really cool to have. The goal is to always increase that engagement. That's in the midst of doing the live, but there's also engagement post the live stream, making sure you're commenting, getting back to them. What I like to do is making sure within 24 hours of the live stream is making sure at least I'm saying thank you for participating, thank you for joining, thank you for tuning in, because I really do appreciate there's so many people on the platform that do phenomenal live streams, and the fact that you can find Career Talks podcast in the sea of folks that do what they do is super appreciative. So hope you continue to support. The number three thing, so I'll cover two: consistency and audience engagement, right? Number three is content, um, pretty much evolution, making sure that you're getting better with the information, um, different topics being touched on. So I would do that research to see is that I don't have all about resumes, all about interviewing. It was a variety of different topics, all within the career development space. And what that umbrella means, there's tons and tons of subset that I don't even think I've scratched the surface, but I wanted to make sure I still had somewhat of a variety, that the goal was to really provide actionable advice. So the topics were not also just to show variety, but I wanted each episode that if you watch again the live or the replay, you can walk away with at least one item that you can say, I'm going to implement this in my career and start to see the effects, right? The effects may take 3 months, 6 months, a year, but at the same time, I wanted you to be able to walk away with one actionable advice that myself or the guests have shared, primarily the guests, to say, you know what, that was key. I listened at the right time. This was my episode. This was the one that resonated with me. So I'm going to take immediate action on that and implement that. So that was really crucial for me to shake up the content a bit and make sure it grew as the podcast grew over 3.5 years now. So I wanted to make sure there was maturity in what was being talked about and also relevancy. So it wasn't outdated information. It was consistently what's happening now in the market. So the guests I sought out were practitioners, actively doing what they're doing now versus being far removed from coaching or HR or whatever, entrepreneurship, whatever line of business they were in. I wanted to make sure they were actively in the front lines doing what they say they do and actively coaching if I sought out a coach. And then something, again, you're getting immediate advice that's happening in today's time. So in today's current career economy. So the fourth thing that I learned was guest diversity. So still evolving that, because I've gotten tons of women on the show because they're just out there crushing the career coaching game. Of a few gentlemen, there's few gentlemen I still have lined up to connect with, but super excited to kind of reach out to some different folks in variety, both in obviously background, ethnicity, all that made sense to bring a different perspective. Because selfishly, I was learning from these folks again, just because I have 20 years of experience in recruiting and in that space and understanding the different dynamics and career coaching I'm still an avid learner. So I wanted to understand and see what other folks were seeing that I wasn't seeing, right? So different generations bring different aspects, uh, evolution of tactics and skills and approaches and technology. So it was super exciting to hear from folks that were younger than me at my age, maybe a few a little older, and seeing their perspective and skill sets and what their knowledge brings from the industry they specialize in. So the diversity of talent and guests was amazing. I can't wait to continue to grow that for the podcast. So effective promotion. Woo. When I tell you, I went to a podcast summit in Miami. I think I posted about it maybe a few months ago. And the amount of information that was provided around growing your podcast and promoting your podcast on whatever platform you're using, YouTube, LinkedIn, IG, TikTok, all the platforms there. That's something I definitely have to get better at, right? Really pushing the value of the growth and the information that's provided on the podcast. I'm hoping it's effective, right? Sometimes you know, sometimes you don't know, but you always want to know that what you put out there is quality information, real information that is relevant to the job seekers, right? So that's my target for next, which actually rolls right into the next one. So for number six, let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So number six, the sixth thing that I learned was quality over quantity. So I got lucky here where even each guest provided quality. So again, to get to 100 episodes is phenomenal. But to have each episode that I can personally go back and reference and pull a nugget out that I think will still work today, even though I started it 3 years ago, there are just certain principles that you can use that are just timeless, right? There are just certain principles and practices that you can always use and go to when you're trying to make pivots in your career. So I've been super lucky, again, to every single guest from guest one to guest 99. I'm the 100th guest on my own show. So that every single episode has nuggets in it that I think you can draw from. So if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you can subscribe both on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and connect with me here on LinkedIn as well. I try to make sure I'm consistent, which was the first one, every Monday night. But sometimes, I still work a corporate job, so I get my schedules get a little bit shuffled around, but I still want to make sure I'm providing tremendous value. So monetization, that is super key when it comes to providing, a podcast value, showing value to folks. You also want to be able to, monetize it and make income from. So there's different ways that I've been blessed to have speaking opportunities from it. You know, talk about sponsorship, things like that. I'm offering sponsorship. DM me if you want a package to see what that looks like. But again, that goes back to the promotion piece. I got to promote this even more so. But this is time consuming, folks. So I just want to make sure that you understand jumping into doing live streams is not for the faint at heart. You got folks out there again that are doing 300 plus, episodes, and God bless them that they've been able to crush it for that long. That is my next goal, and I look to folks like that, like Mac Pritchard, who runs the Mac List and his podcast, who's done hundreds and hundreds of episodes. He's a veteran in the game, so appreciate his wisdom and how he runs his production. So super clean, very, very professional, and quick and to the point. So I love that. So many people out there that I can draw from who are putting on live streams at the same time, but making sure I still had my own personal spin, personal taste to it, and being authentic to who I am. And like I said, it's a selfish thing for me to understand what was out there and learn, but I knew there was value and more people had to think somewhat of the way I thought, and just knew that we needed advice, right? No matter where you're at in your career. That was something important I wanted to make sure I brought forth. So, but with the monetization piece, there's opportunities to make partnerships and things like that. So some things that I'm talking through and talking with. So I'm excited for that to come forth into fruition. The feedback, the next one, I think I'm on number 8. Number 8 is feedback, right? So the feedback on the podcast has been great both from folks who do this on live stream, folks who tell me, hey, what equipment I should do to kind of make the quality look better. Right now, I'm using a CVE10 camera. Got that tip from various folks online, but kind of solidified it from a good friend, Tiffany Human, who's also a co-host on the Career Talks Real Talk segment. So I'll talk about that later as well. But just wanted to make sure I was providing not only a good visual for you folks, but again, still actionable advice just from that piece because I've been running this for 3 years. So I wanted to see quality of improvement in just overall production. So the feedback from folks in content, always I get a bunch of requests and thank yous and people saying, hey, you had a great guest. Just listen to this episode on Apple. She or he shared some great advice. So super excited that I'm getting that. That energizes me. I think even if I got bad advice, I would still press forward because again, this is a passion of mine. This is what I would love to do full time. This is something I'm super excited about. Again, providing quality content again to impact those in the career transition or career development. So, what I've learned in number 9, I'm kind of going through this pretty quickly. Want to just not to be a long, drawn out episode, but just to share real quick what I've learned is number 9 networking opportunities. Tremendous opportunities to network and really grow, the people you can connect with. There's relationships that are building from conversations from guests that I've had. I've built, some great partnerships that are in discussions behind the scenes. This book you see behind me, the Career Accelerator Planner, that was created from a guest on the show. My partner Karen Turner in that. She had an idea. I had an idea. She said something on the podcast. I said, hey, do you want to collaborate and make that happen? So we actually thought it. It went from idea to execution. And now we have the first ever career planner that guides you through, tracking and documenting your performance in corporate America. We searched for it, never seen it. We developed it. We saw a gap. So super excited about that. If you want a copy, it's send me a DM and I'll send you the link for that as well. Support that as well. So that's super cool. It's only there to help you for corporate professionals in that space there. But that all came from networking, right? That all came from reaching out, taking the initiative, stepping outside of fear, having faith to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this, committing first, then figuring out the rest later, and just finding the right people, right? So every guest has been super cool. I have guests that are fresh into their career coaching. When I say business, so they're brand new to it, but I saw the content they were providing, and it was valuable. So I reached out, we made the connection, and I had guests that are New York Times bestseller, international speakers that I can literally shoot a message to and they'll respond, which is really cool. So that spectrum of expertise and just friendships that are building. I've been on podcasts of guests that have been on mine, so we swap platforms. That's always a super cool thing. So if you're looking for someone to join you on your podcast and give you some insight on career stuff, I'm welcome and happy to join you. I think I have a different perspective, so be super excited to to hear from you folks if you're looking for some additional guests. But again, the whole networking thing was just tremendous. To say there's an additional 99 folks that have now that I've now touched in terms of just being guests, and that I can reach out to just for advice or just to see how they're doing, and they'll respond is really cool. Like that alone, and just the expertise that these folks have within this career space. That if someone comes to me, I can think of them and say, hey, no, I don't do this, but I can do this. I can connect you with this person. I can connect you with that person. Or someone's looking for a guest. I'd be like, hey, you know what, who'd be good? She'd be great on this because she touches on mental health and the psychology of it all. Or she's an expert writer in the federal space, or different aspects of career development. Again, D&I, all these different things. I've had connections in that talent development, right? Generations, understanding different generation in the career workforce. It's amazing how that spectrum of network has grown just by doing the LinkedIn live stream. So super, super excited. Again, can't wait to see what year 4, year 5, year 6 will bring as I continue to grow this platform with your support, of course. And then finally, for me, is impact. So the impact, I think, sometimes can go unseen until you get the feedback, right? For me, I'm behind the camera, sitting in my home in a room, in an office here, nothing fancy. Got my lights, got my camera, the mic. Make it. Hopefully, it looks pretty good on your end. But the goal too is that when I open my mouth on this microphone, I'm providing value to those that taken their time to listen. Right? Again, there's a plethora of live stream folks that come on here and talk about various things, from entrepreneurship, mental health, whatever it is, but specifically in career development and career growth, supporting that. How to navigate your career, how to get promoted, et cetera, et cetera. I'm hoping that what I put through this mic makes makes value and resonates with the folks that listen. Trust me, if it doesn't, I'm open to that criticism, open to that feedback to say, hey, your guest did not did not hit the mark, or you didn't hit the mark. What's going on? Or if you want more, great. I'm even open to the feedback to say who you would like to see on the show. Willing to connect or make that connection for me, and I'll get them on here, right? So, but the goal again too is to impact. It's that underlying tone. On my jacket here, it says Career Talks, but it says providing actionable advice for your career and life, and that's the real impact I'm trying to make every time I come on here, Monday nights at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and share with you my guests or my insights through those discussions. How can I make an impact in your career? That's the goal. That's the bottom line, right? That's the mission. So if you've received any good feedback, or should I say advice, from the Career Talks podcast at any point, I would love to hear from you. You can message me directly at my email at info@careertalkspodcast.com. Again, that's info@careertalkspodcast.com. You can also message me directly on LinkedIn. But I just want to hear from you. Again, that's really my mission. I didn't want to make this too long. I think I'm at 20 some odd minutes. So this is a quick 100th episode. I didn't do the big celebration. It was more about just what I've learned through this journey, the people I've come across, again, people who've impacted me and shifted my thought process, and how I thought, and making sure the quality. Also, the biggest thing is the support from family. Some of you know I made a post about it, married with 6 daughters. And so that's time I'm taking away from my family to give you this information, folks. So a huge shout out to my 2 daughters who you just seen at the beginning of the episode, but to my wife, who's consistently making sure I have the time to do this, and that my quality gets better. She's big on like, hey, why does that look like this? Don't post that. Don't do this. But just a huge support, huge support of me doing this and providing value to the folks, because it's a passion of mine. So with that, I'm going to end early because I do have family time, and making sure that you continue to support me. But to recap, the 10 things I've learned: consistency, audience engagement, content evolution, or should I say, content evolution, guest diversity, effective promotion, still working on it, quality over quantity. I think I knocked that out the park. Monetization, continue to grow that. Feedback from the audience, I look to you to give me that. Network opportunities, still growing. I can't even tell you some of the stuff that's coming down the pipeline for me. So super excited. You'll see posts coming out for that. And then impact. With that, folks, thank you so much for tuning in for 99 plus 100 episodes of the Career Talks podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, please share. Look forward to hearing from you. But good night, folks, and continued success.